the former president, even though it seems like a strong issue for Republicans in many ways, is talking about it in just these stark terms, literally channeling Adolf Hitler. I don't know. I know he says he didn't read Mein Kampf and all the rest, but talking about poisoning the blood of our country. What does that do? The Sununu name in Republican politics, your dad, yourself, you've been around this party for a long time. What does that say about the current state of the Republican Party, the way a former president is speaking this week?
No, it only speaks to President Trump, right? He's unique. He's going to use extreme rhetoric. And there's two reasons he's doing it. It's not by accident. He's doing it to really galvanize his base because he knows Nikki is gaining traction. He knows she's the only one with momentum. So he's panicked that if he doesn't galvanize and spur up the anger amongst his base, he could potentially lose him. The second reason, which I think is even more important, he's trying to remind or hopefully get people to forget that he didn't secure the border. He didn't make Mexico pay for the wall. He didn't build the wall. He didn't do any of those things that a lot of us as good, strong conservatives that want the security of this country held, first and foremost. He didn't do any of that stuff. So by talking with this extreme rhetoric, he's distracting on the border issue in a way that hopefully doesn't allow us to have the real conversation about what didn't happen. Nikki will secure the border. She knows how to do that. She knows how to work internationally. She has a commitment to get it done. He's doing everything he can, Trump, to almost convince you he wasn't president for 4 years. He wasn't in charge. He didn't have a Republican Senate and Congress that he had no ability to work with. So he's trying to distract from those failures by using this extreme rhetoric. But it's all because he knows Nikki's nipping at his heels and will likely win in New Hampshire.
Well, let me talk about her strategy on that issue a little bit. I have a clip I want to play from Nikki Haley speaking in Iowa on immigration. And you talk about her, how she wants to do it. It's essentially going, one person at a time and to stop illegal immigration and, in her view, get people out that shouldn't be here. Here's what she said recently in Iowa on immigration. Nikki Haley.
Every time we see one apply for a job, if you do the E-Verify, they can't hire people that are here illegally. If they get a traffic ticket, if they're not here legally, you deport them. If they go to try and get a driver's license or a picture ID, you deport them. We have to go and keep finding them one at a time, the way we can. But if they start to realize they're getting deported, they'll stop coming.
Is that practical, Governor? Will that work?
Following the law? Yeah. Following the law is
so the
practical.
One at a time, finding them one at a time like that?
Look, what she's saying is we're not just going to blanket over this and say it's too big of a problem for us to take care of, all that. She's saying we're going to follow the law. We're going to make sure every American follows. And that's exactly what the American people want. Because you know who it does right by? Those who came into the country legally, that followed the process, that worked through the ports of entry and all that sort of thing the right way. It acknowledges it and honors that because we do have a great process to become American citizens and enter this country and get your visas and all of that. And again, when Biden doesn't follow the law, that's why people are so upset. That's why everybody beats Joe Biden. Nikki beats him by 17 points, according to the Wall Street Journal poll. Yeah. So, no, I think she's right on target with what the American people are looking to see.
Well, how would you describe her politically, whether it's on this issue or others? Because, the independents in New Hampshire are always a big story. But even if she does what you think she can do and becomes the nominee, attracting independent voters, more moderate voters, is going to be a big part of the general election. And maybe one of the reasons why she's up, as you say, as much head-to-head against President Biden is people perceive her as a moderate. I think, if I look at her policies, that she is much more of a conservative. That's her record. How do you describe Nikki Haley, her politics?
Well, look, Nikki Haley is a strong conservative. There's no doubt about it. She's the next generation of conservative leadership. But let me describe Nikki Haley. She's genuine. She's just Nikki Haley. She's not trying to tell you one thing and do another. She's not overthinking this stuff. She just believes what she believes. She's confident about it. She's not trying to convince you it's her way or nothing, or that you have to agree with her on 100% of all issues. She's not judging. She's just herself. Right. And she brings all that amazing leadership. So by, again, putting the individual first by saying your voice matters. We might not agree on everything, but your voice matters and we're going to listen. That's the connectivity she's making, why her numbers are skyrocketing here in New Hampshire. And that's exactly what you want to see out of the White House.
Thanks so much for watching. Just go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.